Hi, Jim Van Zant here, one of the pastors, Carlisle United Methodist Church, with Sermon in 3 minutes. Thanks for tuning in today. We finished up last week a 4-week walk through the book of Ecclesiastes, those wise sayings of King Solomon. We spent most of our time, the first 3 weeks, in the first 3 chapters, and had a whirlwind experience through chapters 4 through 12. That's simply because most of the great stuff Solomon has to say is in the first 3 chapters, and he uses the rest of his book to share vignettes and other examples that shows his disappointment and discouragement with trying to find meaning in life below the sun. That's a famous phrase he uses about the vanity of life below the sun. But then he comes to realize that God lives above the sun, and that makes all the difference for him. One of the things that also bothers him that he talked a lot about is the sorrow and suffering that he sees not only in his own kingdom but around the world as it's known at that time. I don't know if you knew this, but Solomon, being the smart, wise, rich guy that he was, he would have his servants go out and pick one of the poor families in his kingdom every night to come and eat at his table. And when dinner was over, he gave them all the leftovers to take home and share. It's because he was just bothered by what he saw as all this indiscriminate suffering and sorrow, to which he questions God. Christianity has never run away from suffering and sorrow. We too question it, we wonder about it, we rail against it, questioning God, and all of those things that the entire human race does. I don't know if you're aware or have heard the term 10-40 window. 10 degrees above the equator, 40 degrees below the equator is the belt around the world where most of the people live, and yet these are some of the harshest climates in the world. Life has changed very little in these climates around the world. And there is a great deal of suffering and sorrow and pain, either from pestilence, war, disease, government, or just trying to eke out a living in those places. One of the things we Christians understand is that God is more powerful than our pain and our suffering. That God is the only one who can take those horrible things that happen to us and actually is powerful enough to make them work for our good. They're often meant to destroy us. Look, we really only have 2 options in life when bad things happen to us. You can either adopt the opinion and the life philosophy to try and outrun sorrow and suffering as fast as you can for as long as you can, knowing that one day it will catch you. Or you can begin to embrace it and believe in a God who can take these horrible things and turn them around for you and make them work for your good. There's testimony after testimony after testimony through the centuries and ages of people who did just that and are thankful to God, even thankful to God for some of the bad things that happened in their lives as it opened up new doors to new things. The 12th chapter is the last chapter of Ecclesiastes, and for him it's the end of the matter, and he shares the end of the matter. But there's a really interesting verse, chapter 12, verse 1, where he says to remember your Creator when you are young. And that's one of the phrases that I often hear from people who are older and more experienced. That much of life and the things you want to do in life, they say, do while you are young, while you're still able to do that. Well, I'm sure that's true for Solomon as he's older and reflecting on his life. But one of the things he also stresses is develop a relationship with your Creator when you are young, because you will need the strength of that relationship to get through the hard, the difficult, and sorrowful times in our lives. Where are you on the opinion? Are you one who is embracing a relationship with God and are laying a foundation now, or are you one who is still running? This has been Sermon in 3 minutes. Have a great day.